Hi, I'm Emily. I'm a technology communicator and a storyteller, and I know that AI is the innovation that's going to impact us the most in our lifetimes, in our roles as storytellers. That's why I chose to do my master's degree on this topic. I interviewed experts across media, business, technology, and design to find out how this technology is truly transforming our roles. I've compiled all my research into 6 tips for storytellers, so let's get started. The first thing that storytellers need to understand about AI is that it isn't new. It's not something that was just put together during the pandemic by some computer scientists and then in November 2022 out popped ChatGPT. In fact, AI was based on 70 years of research. The first research paper that came out on neural network theory came out in 1943 by researchers McCulloch and Pitts, who said that the human brain is like electrical circuits, and if it's like that, that means that we can recreate it using man-made structures. AI research continued on from there. Alan Turing published his paper in 1950 about the imitation game. But there wasn't enough data or computing power for these AI theories to be put into practice until around the turn of the millennium, and then in 2017, transformer architecture was invented. That's the basis for all of today's generative AI models. So we see that AI truly isn't new. It's based on 70 years of deep research into the topic. And when ChatGPT came onto the scene, it really burst onto the scene. And it actually blew all of our success metrics for technology innovations out of the water. It took ChatGPT just 5 days to reach 1 million users when it took Netflix more than 1,000 days to reach that milestone. I believe it's down to the human centricity of the technology that has made it so popular. My first tip for storytellers is that you need to learn by doing and you need to experiment with AI before you can figure out how it fits into your creative workflow. There's simply no instruction manual with AI, and there's no person on this planet that understands everything about how to use it because the technology is emergent, which means that it works in ways that we don't understand. This is Professor Ethan Mollick. He created a rule of thumb saying it takes 10 hours to learn AI. There's lots of evidence to suggest that AI is going nowhere, so sticking your head in the sand simply isn't an option. If you decide you don't want to use AI, you need to make an educated decision not to use it once you understand how it might be used in your creative workflow. Italy, perhaps the home of the world's greatest art, they tried to ban ChatGPT, and that ban only lasted for 1 month. It's just another piece of evidence that this technology isn't going anywhere, and it's something that we need to start to get comfortable with for the future. My second tip for storytellers is to be human. And that means come to an understanding of how your human storytelling skills are different from a machine. This book, The Sentient Machine, does a good job of explaining the difference between human and machine intelligence. A machine doesn't have a body to protect, and it can replicate itself. It can be in multiple places at the same time around the world. Machines don't need to experience something to learn about it like a human does, and they can cut and paste learning from other machines. You can think of AI almost like the boiling down of all technology revolutions that have come before it. I made this rudimentary graph to explain this trend, that as technology revolutions happen over time, they become less machine-like and more human-like until we get to today's AI. And Mustafa Suleyman has gone even further. He's the CEO of Microsoft AI. He's actually talking about how we need to view AI as a digital species that coexists with us on this planet. He says that it uses our language, it speaks like us, it has emotions, it has personality, and it can make common sense decisions. As I was doing my research, 3 words kept coming up over and over again, and they're the 3 things that human storytellers need to keep in mind because they're the advantages that we have over machines: persuasion, authenticity, and context. One way that we can think about our human abilities in persuasion is this model, the elephant and rider. It's based upon theories by the neuroscientist Jonathan Haidt. He talks about our whole brain as humans can be split up between an elephant and a rider. The rider is our thinking brain, the analytical, the logical, the controlled part of our brain. And the elephant is the more intuitive, the feeling part of our brain. As humans, we often make a mistake thinking that the rider is the one in control. that the analytical part of our brain drives decisions, but actually, science shows that 95% of decision making is based on the more feeling, the more intuitive part of our brain. How does this relate back to AI? I would argue that AI is only like the rider. It's only the analytical and logical part of our brain. The feeling, the intuitive, the emotional part, the elephant, cannot be replicated by AI. And we're already starting to see examples of when projects that lack human storytelling abilities, the persuasion, the authenticity, and the context, are being rejected by audiences who can tell they were created by AI. There's a lot of doomsaying and fear-mongering about AI. My fourth tip is to understand what your concerns about AI are. If we can categorize our concerns about this technology, it can help us to deal with them, and it can help us to feel better about how we're going to thrive in this era. AI is confounding because it impacts us on so many different levels. There's the macro levels of concern. Will robots take over all of us? Will humanity survive this? Will singularity happen? There's the meso or the community level of concerns. Is my industry going to survive? As storytellers, we're concerned about copyright infringement. We're concerned about the future of the media industry. And then there's the micro level of concern. Is AI going to take my job? Let's talk about the middle layer of the pyramid first, the meso level of concerns. There's a very real phenomenon that AI researchers call model collapse. And it's the reason behind the New York Times lawsuit over OpenAI. Their lawsuit's not about copyright infringement. It's about how OpenAI is degrading their business model by scraping content behind their paywall. Once the internet is awash with AI-generated content, it degrades the models that we're familiar with, where content's paid for by an ad or by a paywall. This is a concern that storytellers should be aware of. On the top of the pyramid, the macro level of concern is the question of singularity, whether or not AI will ever be as smart as human intelligence. This survey of AI researchers showed that they think there's a 50-50% chance that singularity will be reached by the year 2059. But when you ask those same researchers whether or not singularity is good or bad for humanity, they can't agree. But as we're thinking about our concerns about AI, it's really important that we keep our concerns in check. Because up until now, all of the technology revolutions that have happened in human history have made our lives better. The celebrated graphic designer Stefan Sagmeister has reminded us of this with his book, Now is Better. He's measured statistics produced by the UN over the last 200 years on the things that really matter. Poverty, life expectancy, disease, famine. Life has gotten better. There's reason to expect that AI will improve our lives as well. Tip number 5 is to know where AI is going in the future. What are the other innovations? What should we know about that's coming around the corner? Dario Amodei of Anthropic has talked about how the future of AI is so exciting because it will soon be able to take actions on your behalf, and that this future is only perhaps 18 months away from now. If you believe what the tech giants are saying, there's a very real possibility that the robots are in fact coming. Personally, I can't wait until I have more time to write and create stories and use my creativity and my imagination while a robot loads my dishwasher or folds my laundry for me. AI and robotics are like an exponentially increasing outward spiral. As AI gets better, robotics gets better, and as robotics gets better, the sensors feed better data back through to the AI model. It's a very real possibility that robots will be in our homes within the next 3 to 5 years. Okay, so we've made it as far as my 6th and final tip. And this tip is to find your new normal with emerging skill sets. There are emerging skill sets out there, like prompt engineering, that can be studied, and this can help you to use generative AI in a more effective way so that it delivers the outcomes that you're intending to receive. Aside from prompt engineering, it's also advisable to learn about the different large language models that are out there. Microsoft's Copilot is pulling from ChatGPT. This model is known as having the widest breadth of capabilities in generative AI. But they've got competition coming from Google's Gemini, which used to be called Bard. Gemini is known as being the most culturally sensitive or woke of all the large language models. Then you've got Claude by Anthropic, backed by Amazon. Claude is known for being the most human-like, All of the AI tools that are out there right now are drawing from one of these large language models. There's almost no question in my mind that our technical skills are going to be eclipsed in this era of automation. We need to understand what our soft skills are so that we can put ourselves out there, so that we can use empathy, intuition, and feeling to really drive home a message. For the final part of my visual story, I thought it would be fun to build the Empire State Building using AI. There are 20 types of intelligence, according to Professor Wooldridge at University of Oxford. So which types of intelligence has AI already built? If we were going to fill the Empire State Building with intelligence, we would be at the 15th floor in terms of where AI is already. A further 25 floors are currently being built, and work hasn't yet begun on the rest of the building. Here's a quick recap of my 6 tips. Learn by doing, persuasion, authenticity, and context, be human, know about your concerns, know where AI is going, and find your new normal. Human storytellers have a more important job than ever in this era of automation. Storytelling is part of the fabric of our very society, and it always has been from the beginning of time. We need to relay the human experience. We need to use our powers as storytellers, and we can thrive in this AI era.